Thank you all for coming. We hope with this sort of COVID world to maybe start doing these Zoom meetings to give our members a bit of donkey training. When we did the survey last year, I know people said they enjoyed the training days and the information sessions. So we thought with everybody getting sort of onto Zoom and using Zoom that this could be a good format to start making contact with people, especially because we can make contact with people out of Australia. I came aware of Cynthia through a Facebook group called the Saddle Donkey, which is mainly American, and saw that she was doing work with the BLM burros, which are very similar to our Australian Teamsters. So I was very impressed with watching her work. She seems to be able to turn a donkey around from not being handled to being able to load and float and have its feet done and all those sorts of things very, very quickly without any undue stress on the animal, which I thought was great. So I approached Cynthia to see if she'd be willing to come and talk to us, and lucky for us, she was, which is great. So I will hand over to Cynthia to introduce herself and give a bit of a background. So go ahead, Cynthia.
Thank you, Chase. So definitely thank you guys for giving me a chance. And I definitely want to be able to help anybody who we can. So my name is Cynthia Fisher with Fisher's Mustangs, and I am a BLM certified tip trainer, and TIP stands for Trainer Incentive Program. So what I do is BLM sends me groups of feral donkeys that we call burros here. And my job is to get them gentled to where they halter, lead, tie, pick up all 4 feet, load in a trailer, and can be caught. So we've done well over 100 of them now. I'll have to look in on my paper to get the exact number, but we definitely are in the over the hundreds. And I started professionally doing it 2 years ago. I've kind of been in the Mustang world since I was born into it. Donkeys kind of always been there, but since we bought our own farm 2 years ago, I started doing it full time. So this is my full-time job. So I can get in anywhere from groups of 6 to 12, now quoted for 12 animals at a time. I can get their requirements done in 14 days. We have a pretty good routine that we do with them now. So let me think. So do you guys want me to go over like the first week of when I bring them home, or what would you guys like for me to talk about first?
Yeah, I think that would be great if you could go through that, because we usually here we get most of our feral donkeys are run through the sales. So most of the people that we have getting in the unhandled donkeys have usually ended up buying them from sale yards. So they typically, the people at the sales will help them get them into the float, but then they've got to get them home. So I guess maybe go through what you, how you keep them. So what's the best way to sort of put them, what facilities are the best way to bring these donkeys into, and then I guess go through how you go through things.
Okay, of course. So first, when I bring the donkeys home, I have 3 corrals. I have an 8-foot, 36 by 40 corral that is attached to my 36 by 36 covered barn. So on the first side is the 8-foot corral. On the back side, I have a 6-foot noble corral. And then on the right side, I have a 5-foot prefert corral. So what I do first when I bring these guys home is I'll back up to my corral, I'll offload them, and then I'll run them down to the 8-foot corral first, because I've seen plenty of donkeys jump a 6-foot corral like it's nothing. So bigger the better. And what we do is we have 6 12 by 12 stalls. In each stall, we have a post that we can tie to that is solid. And I like to use panel corrals. Panel corrals, one reason is sometimes if I get one that's a little aggressive, if I need to get out of there pretty quick, I can climb the panels over. If I have one that I need to start by petting through the panels, then I can do it that way. So when I bring them home, or when I separate them, I'll separate individuals in their own stall. So there's never a donkey paired with another donkey when we start the gentling process. So once we put them in their 12 by 12 stall, the very first day, I'll get a halter on them. And how I get a halter on them first is I'll put a rope around them. So I kind of throw the rope over their back, their neck, their shoulders, kind of get them used to the feel. Sometimes when you first start, they're going to try to attack the rope and they'll kind of like lay down and start biting it. That's totally fine. It's just a defense mechanism that they have. So we just kind of desensitize them to the rope first. Once they're desensitized to the rope, I'll put the rope over their neck and I'll start having them give the pressure. When I can get them to give the pressure and have them face me and get that first hand on, then what I do is I can take my halter and I can attach a lead rope on one side and a lead rope on the other side. And then I can actually put the halter on without even touching the burro itself, because most of the time the burros don't want their faces touched, which is completely fine. Once I get that halter on, then what I do is I'll attach a lead to it and then I'll tie them the first day. So they already have to know how to get the pressure. So we've already worked on, giving it pressure, coming off when they feel that pull. So I'll tie them the first day for like 15-20 minutes. Burros are super, super smart. Or donkeys, I should say, are super, super smart. So when they stand there and they're off pressure, then I'll release them. And then usually we'll leave a drag rope on just for a day or two. One, I like to leave a drag rope on because it helps them get used to something dragging beside them. So it desensitizes them again to the rope. And two, it's easier for me to catch them those next couple days. The second day when I go in, I'll grab the line and we'll work more on giving the pressure, and then I'll start actually doing circles. So I'm still in the 12 by 12 stall with the burro. The burro doesn't leave that 12 by 12 stall for the first like 3 or 4 days. So we'll start going around in circles, teach them to move their hind end over, teach them to move their front end over. Every time they give me a little bit, or they when they're super, super willing and they give to that pressure and they're soft, we always release and I just stand there for a minute, or I'll walk out for a minute, let them process what they just did, and then I'll go back in the stall and do it again. I do offer all donkeys treats because with donkeys, cookies are a good positive reinforcement for them and they do love them. With the wild ones, they don't know what a treat is the first couple days. So I'll still offer it to them. If they don't want to take it, that's fine. I'll just give them their space, and that can be their reward because they don't necessarily want that human touch. So after we start doing the circles, left and right a few times, then I'll tie them again. So I tie them daily, start out like 15-20 minutes, and then we work up to like an hour and a half. Tying is very, very good for these donkeys. Unlike horses, I try to move their feet. So I move their feet to get to their brain. Donkeys, it's more of a mental strategy. So you have to do everything in their language. So everything is a lot smaller. So where horses, I can work like an hour or two at a time. Donkeys, I only work 5 to 10 minutes, 6 to 7 times a day. So it's very small sessions, but it's very frequent throughout the whole day. Okay. On day 3, if I got them going in the circles pretty good, they're giving to me pretty good. Usually by day 3, they're starting to actually like look for me to start kind of greeting me because they're understanding. Then I'll start walking them out of their stall. So we'll walk them out of their stall down the aisle, and then I'll just let them stand there for a few minutes, and then I'll walk them back in their stall, and then I'll leave them. So I'll do that like 4 or 5 times a day until they can easily walk in and out of the stall without any hesitance, any pressure, no pull, no resistance, nothing. Once I get that, on day 3 as well, I'll start rubbing. So on day 1, I start rubbing their whole body. Day 2, I'll kind of start rubbing their legs a little bit. By day 3, after we have them tied and walked out of the stall and back in the stall, I'll start doing the rope again. So I'll start throwing the rope over their back, over their neck, over their butt, and then after that, I'll start wrapping it around their legs. So I'll swing it in their legs and then release, and swing it on their legs and release. And what that does, that gets them used to it, the touch of something on their legs without them want to drop, bite, or charge or whatever. So once they have that, I'll put the rope on the front leg first, and then we'll work on giving the leg. So first I'll ask for the leg to come forward. Right when they pick up the leg, even if it's straight, backwards, I don't care, I immediately release. Release is very, very important, and your timing is very, very important. You have to have your timing sharp with these donkeys. These donkeys are incredibly smart, way smarter than horses. What folks call stubbornness is not stubbornness. That donkey has learned to outsmart you. So once they start giving a little bit with the rope, then I'll ask them to actually lift it up with the rope. When they lift it up, I'll hold it for just a split second. When they hold it for a split second, I'm going to release that pressure. I'm going to love them. And again, I'm going to offer a cookie. And about this time, day 3, they usually take the cookie from me. And then they learn when they take the cookie from me that that cookie tastes really good. And they want to please you because they want another cookie. Okay. So, and I love that. I love when they're seeking, like, hey, how can I get this cookie? I will do anything for a cookie. So it's kind of like a dog in a way, right? Then once they start picking up their foot, every time I go in there, so once they pick it up, sorry, let me back up. Once they pick it up for a sec, I'll walk out. And then 5 minutes later, I'm going to walk back in. I'm going to ask them to pick up their foot again. I'm going to hold it for like 2 seconds. And then I'm going to love them, give them a cookie, walk back out. So every time I go in, I hold it just a little bit longer, and then I reward. And then I walk out, and then I leave them alone for a while. By day 4, so that's front and back feet. By day 4, I should be able to, and sometimes it takes me like 5 or 6 days, but typically by day 4, I can pick up that hoof with my hand by rubbing down their leg, picking the hoof up with my hand, patting the hoof, rubbing the hoof, and then setting it down. Once I got that, I can then have my husband come in, who's my farrier, because we learned how to do it ourselves because it's bloody expensive to have that many animals done. So what he'll do is he'll come in and start interacting with the burros, so the burros kind of get to know him. Now, if I have one that wants to give me a little bit of trouble, like kicking, for instance, we have 2 tricks. We have what's called the pacifier trick. So what we'll do is we'll put that rope back on the foot, like what we did with the front feet that I was talking about, and we'll just lift it up and we'll hold it. If the donkey wants to kick, we hold a steady pressure. It's not a hard pressure. We're just holding it up like 4, maybe 5 inches off the ground. We're not yanking their, hip socket out or the hips out of the socket, but just enough off the ground that when they're kicking against themselves. And right when they pause, we instantly release that pressure and put that foot down. And that usually only takes a couple minutes before they're like, oh, all you're asking is for my foot. So then what we can do is David can lift that foot up and rest that foot on his knee and then start trimming their feet. If, let's say, for some reason that they continue to kick and they just, they don't want to stop. I rarely have had to do this, but we've had to do it with a few where we do the Scotch Hobble. So we'll put the rope over their neck, and it's a thick cotton rope, so it's soft. Definitely don't put a rope on that's going to rope burn the poor things, but put it over their neck. And then we just pull the foot up just a little bit, like I said, 4, 5, maybe 6 inches off the ground. And then we just hold it there. So the pressure is actually going to be against themselves. So if they go to kick, it's putting pressure on themselves, and they figure out pretty quick that, oh, that's kind of uncomfortable. And it doesn't stress the animal out. It's just another trick we use for donkeys that have really bad feet and we need to get those feet done. But that is only if we've done the steps before. We don't automatically go to, we're going to tie your foot up. We don't automatically do that. 98% of the time, I don't have to do that. As long as I do my homework and the steps that I just said, we can get their feet done really easy. We always tie our donkeys when we do their feet, because sometimes with the farrier, being new, they'll try to lean on them. So it just helps hold the donkey up instead of the donkey leaning and the poor farrier getting crushed. But again, that's only with some. A lot of them do pretty good. Let's see. So that's about anywhere from day 4 to 6, depending on the individual donkey itself. And then we'll start working on trailer loading. So the donkey already knows how to tie, and with tying, they learn that they have to stay off pressure, because when you tie to a solid post, if they go to pull back, that post isn't moving. So they will learn real quick that, okay, pressure, I need to come off. When I come off, I get rewarded with a cookie, or I get released, which again, that's their freedom. So when we go to the trailer, I back up my trailer to the round pen. So we have to walk the donkeys down the aisleway to my round pen. And what I do is I just walk them up to the trailer. And when I get to the trailer, I'll put the rope through one of my bars, and then I'll just stand there. I don't automatically ask for the donkey to come in the trailer. That is how you will get your donkey to shut down on you, like that. And if you push them to do it, they're going to sit down like a dog, they're going to lay down, or they're just going to fight you the whole time, because you have to make it almost their idea. You can't ever really force anything on a donkey. It just doesn't work. So when we have the rope wrapped around the bar, I have complete control of lengthening it, shortening it, whatever. If the donkey goes to have just a small fit where he wants to kind of pull back a little bit, they usually come right off of it super quick. It's like, oh, that's similar to being tied. I need to come back off. And then we'll stand there for a little bit, reward, pat them, give them another cookie, or maybe, 2 or 3, sometimes 5. And then after that, it just inch by inch. It usually takes me about 15, 20 minutes the first time, and then they load in the trailer. Right when they load in the trailer, I give them like a whole handful of treats, and I just pet them like, good boy, good girl, you did awesome. And then I'll turn them around, and I'll go to the end of my 12-foot lead, and I'll let them exit however they want to. And then when they exit, I'm going to go back to their stall, and I'm going to give them another reward of a cookie or a little bit of grain or some really nice grass or hay or whatever. And I'm going to leave them in there for like 5 minutes. Then after 5 minutes, I'm going to take that donkey back out. I'm going to walk to the trailer. And every single time I've done this, when I walk back to the trailer the second time, they hop right in. And they're like, oh, I get more cookies. So we've done that with all of them. I've had a few where they went back to the trailer the second time, and they just stood there like, am I supposed to get back in? Or what am I supposed to do? But they didn't pull back. They just had a moment of, I think this is what you want, but they get it really, really fast. And then once we trailer load that day and maybe the next day, by the 3rd day of trailer loading, I'll tie them in the trailer and have them stand tied in the trailer for like 10 minutes. And what that does is that teaches them not to rush out of the trailer, or not to think that right when they enter the trailer, they can, come back out. It teaches them that wherever I put them, they have to trust me that I'm going to come back and release them. So we'll do that a little bit. And then, let's see, so trailer loading. And then after that, when they got the trailer loading down, the leading down, the haltering down, so haltering, I didn't go over this. By day, I will say day 3 as well. But day 2 or 3, I'll start working on putting a halter over the halter that's already on them. I'll have them get used to the feel of that going over their nose, and then give them a cookie every time. So once they got that down, they got the leading down, they got the trailer loading down, David got their feet trimmed, they could pick up their feet real nice. Then I'll allow them to have free roam of my barn and the round pen. And then for the next 2 days, or even 2-3 days, I'll go out there and I'll just love on them, sit down with the chair, have a cup of coffee, hand them some cookies, just spend time with them, because they already graduated from all the requirements that I asked of them. Now I just want them to be happy and accept domestic life and learn to really just want to be with humans. I want them to be intrigued by humans. So how I get them easy to catch is I'll go in there, and if they come to me, I won't look at them. I'll hand them a cookie, and then I instantly walk out. If they start to follow me, I'll kind of walk away from them and pretend like I'm not interested in you. And like I'll kind of give them a cookie behind my back, and then I'll walk out. So what that does, that mentally plays a game with them on they are so intrigued by a human, they want to be with you, and they know that you're not going to expect anything of them. You're just going in there to give them a cookie or to love on them or to groom them, and then you're going to leave. So that's how I kind of do, that's what we do for the tip requirement. And then day 10, so I have to have them 10 days, and then day 10, and from 10 to 14 days, they leave for their new homes. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I've got a couple, so I'll run through the couple of questions that I have, and then we'll open it up to other people. So the first one that I've got is I'd like a bit more information on the tying thing, because it seems like that's really important, and that's not something I've ever really heard of before. So what's the reasoning behind the tying, and maybe if you could go through that in a bit more detail, because that's something I've not really done with my wild borns, and probably I should have done.
Okay, yeah, of course. So I tie the donkeys. One, it helps them process what we just did during that session, and no matter what that session was, if it was just a simple leading, if it was just a simple putting a halter on, a simple them walking out, picking up feet, anything like that, I always tie. It gives them a chance to process everything. And being tied, they have to learn that they know that they're caught. So they have to learn that in order for them to be released, they have to look for me for that release. They have to look for me to give them that freedom again. It helps with ones that want to pull. It helps with donkeys who want to bolt away, because with humans, if a donkey wants to bolt, he's going to drag you. I mean, donkeys are strong. Okay. I mean, my mom and I, when we first started, we tried training them like a horse, and one drugged both me and her, and we're both laughing as we're getting drugged because we couldn't believe how strong these little suckers are. So we've always learned that you always tie your donkeys and give your donkeys as many tie sessions as possible. And if they're scared of something, so let's say I take them out for a walk and they're scared of my truck, I'll tie them right by my truck. And until they relax and come off that pressure and I see a big U in my lead rope, then I'll release them and I'll take them back into the barn or wherever they're at. But they have to learn that wherever they are with that lead and that halter on, they have to always be thinking, they have to always relax, and they have to always look for you for the right answer and what you want from them. So that is why I tie. And when I do tie, I'll tie a little high, so kind of where your donkey's eye is, I'll kind of tie about there. I don't tie too high, not like a horse, but I would say about eye level on your donkey is where I tie. And I'll leave probably 2 feet of rope. And then as they get better, I'll leave 3 feet of rope, because that way they can have a little bit more room to move if they want. And then I wrap it twice, and then I do the rabbit around the tree, and then you put the rabbit in the hole. So that way when you pull the tail in, it comes loose. Yeah, that's what I do.
Okay. Another one is this. So we find with our wild colts, with things like farriers and stuff, because I don't have in-house farrier, even if they'll do everything for me and my husband, they absolutely freak out when it's somebody they haven't met before. So what's the best way about broadening their confidence with other people, especially like a farrier that comes to the property? I mean, it's taken us almost 3 years to get our farrier to trim our wild caught gelding.
So what I do, especially with my competition burros, when I get them in, I'll have friends and family come over, and they have to have a pocket full of treats. I'll have them come over, and I'll have them just rub and massage their legs. And when they're calm, they get a cookie, and then I'll have them walk away. Have them come back, rub their legs, and if they're calm enough, I'll ask them to just slightly lift and then release. So I'll do that with like 6 or 7 new people. I'll have them come over and just rub their legs and maybe lift their leg and then just give them a cookie. The more you can socialize your burro to strange people, the better your burro will be. And I know you said it took 3 years. So tying again is very important. When I have new people come over, my burros are always tied at first, because again, when they're tied, they associate that they have to stay off pressure and they have to trust me that I'm going to come free them. So the scary object, instead of being my truck, is going to be a new human. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep, that does. Spare me a second. And float loading. I see that you guys have like what I call a step up. So they all just have to step into the trailer. Most floats here in Australia have a ramp. Is there anything different that is required? Because I think I find, like, watching your burros, once you've got a step, they're kind of all getting into the trailer, whereas for us, we get a step, but then they're just on a ramp. We've still got this ramp to negotiate, and then the trailer. Is there anything you would do differently to incorporate the ramp?
So I actually used to have a 2-horse straight load that had a ramp, and I just did the same thing. When they started coming, when, you know, put the rope over one of your bars in the trailer, as they come forward, just let them take their time with the ramp. When they put 2 feet forward, go and offer them that cookie, but still have your rope around that bar, and then just ask them again and again. Then when they get all the way in, do your treats, turn around and walk out. There really is honestly no difference. I thought my ramp was a lot easier for the burros, so they didn't have to learn to step up. The ramp was already gradual, so it was easier for them. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. That covers, I think, my questions. Does anybody else have any questions that they wanted to ask Stacey? Probably if you uncamera yourself and put your hand up or something, that's probably the best way to do it. Okay, I can see you, Jen. Do you have a question?
Yeah, what sort of head collar or halter are you using? Sort of head collar or halter are you using?
So I use whatever I have on hand. It can be a rope halter, it can be a flat nose halter, or it can be a homemade halter where I put the rope over their neck and then around their nose. I should be able to train a donkey off of feel, energy, and release without having a special halter.
Good.
Did you have a question, Pat?
Yeah. Do you find it's a lot harder with their back feet than with their front feet? We've had a lot of donkeys over my years, and usually you can get the front feet up without too much trouble, but the back feet worry them a lot more when they're ex-feral donkeys or not well-handled donkeys.
Yes, their back feet can definitely be a lot harder. That's where we like to use our pacifier trick the most. Put the rope over their foot, and then we kind of take so we'll put the rope on their foot. First, we'll ask the foot to come in to the donkey, and then afterwards, we'll ask the foot to come stretched out past the donkey. And that's usually when they want to kick, is when you're asking for that foot to come past the donkey, because that's just not okay with them. So that's when we allow them to just kind of fight it through. But the moment they relax, even if it's just a little split second of relaxation, we automatically release, give them a reward either by petting or giving them a cookie, and then giving them a couple minutes, and then repeat that. And as long as you repeat that consistently, it only takes a few days. Some people, I've heard it took them a week just because they couldn't get several sessions in a day, but it all worked out in the end. They finally figured out that, okay, she's just asking for my foot up. She's not hurting me, and I get a cookie every time. I'm good. So just, be patient with them. Allow them, if they want to kick, allow them just to kind of fight with themselves a little bit. But when you feel that relaxation, it release, because they will learn really quick about that release.
Thank you.
Do you ever use anything like clicker training to do this, or do you find that just releasing pressure is effective enough with regards to giving them treats and things?
So good question. So you could ask that question to 10 different horse people or donkey people and you'll get 10 different answers. So here's my answer. My answer is I don't care for clicker training. That's just me. I can train my donkeys again with feel, pressure and release, and energy. That's all I need. And their biggest reward for that big positive reinforcement is the cookies.
Okay. Yeah, I've tried with clicker training, but I find that it becomes trying to remember to click, especially because I've got donkey, treats, clicker. I feel like my feel goes out the window because I'm trying to juggle too many things, if that
Right.
makes sense. And you don't find that your donkeys mob you for treats at all?
No, if they start to get a little mouthy, I just kind of pop them in the mouth with my finger, and it's not hard. It's just a little pop, and I just say, "Hey," and then they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry." So
Yeah,
there is a fine line between I want them to be really, really friendly, but I also need them to be respectful.
And how do you you said at the start, like they don't know what treats are. Do you just sort of scatter some treats around their yard, or like how do you teach them what a treat is? I mean, I've been known to even open a mouth and sort of stuff a cookie in. I mean, but that seems counterproductive. I mean, it took ours ages to sort of get a carrot or a cookie or whatever.
Right. So when I first bring them in, I'll start giving them just a little tiny bit of grain, not a lot of grain, but just a little bit of grain, and I'll put the treats in the grain. And then
Right.
I'll just put it down, and then throughout the night, when I come back in the morning, it's gone. And then they start figuring out the smell. That's that cookie that tasted good, and then pretty soon they take it from you. I've tried in the beginning when I first started, I tried doing the shove the cookie in their mouth, and I found that just to kind of piss them off.
Yes.
And not really like, because they're like, "Oh, you're forcing it. Just screw off, lady," kind of thing. So I just put it down, and I'm like, "Okay, when you're ready, you can have your cookie. If you don't want it, my feelings won't be hurt."
Yep. That makes sense. And so, I mean, I know you're not involved in necessarily wild catching, but for people that have perhaps brought the donkey home and have let it go, it seems like from what you're saying, the first thing is to try to get it into a smaller, safer space. Would you say that that's of primary importance?
Yes. I honestly feel having these 12 by 12 stalls, which are my gentling pens, I strongly feel those are very important. They're not allowed to have a big open space until I go out in the barn and they start kind of starting to hee-haw at me and they want to meet me at the gates. Until I can go out and they're meeting me at the gate, or I let them out in the round pen and they're like following me around like a puppy dog, then I'll allow them to actually be out in pasture. And let's say I turn them out in pasture and they have a wild hair up their butt and I can't catch them. Since I have so many corrals, I just open up one big corral. And since they're used to grain, I'll put the grain in that corral. I'll step out of the pasture. When they get in the corral, I'll go back in the outside and I'll shut them in the pen. Or I have my gentle boys, Senor Carrots, Moonshine John, and Whiskey Jack, who, if I tell them to bring me a donkey, they're going to bring that donkey in for me. So I do utilize my gentle donkeys a lot.
Yeah, can you elaborate on that? I've seen you using Moonshine John a lot, where you have him kind of between you and one of the Jennies that you had recently. Can you tell us a bit more about using the more experienced donkeys? And does it need to be a male donkey, or can any donkey do it?
Any donkey can do it. It just depends on how strong a bond you and that donkey have. So Moonshine John and I would say he's my most bonded, most loyal, trusted boy. Whiskey Jack, he's only 3, so he still kind of has a baby brain. So his patience level isn't the best, but he'll get there. So he's learning. But yeah, so with Moonshine John, when I have ones that are very insecure about themselves, and when they're insecure about themselves, they'll try to hide in the corner, they'll try to jump my panel, or they'll just try to show their butt to you and kick the crap out of you. So by bringing a gentle donkey in the pen with me, that gentle donkey actually will imprint on the wild donkey and shows that wild donkey the interaction between what Moonshine John and I have. So I'll just stand there for a little bit, just loving on Moonshine, and that donkey will watch us. And then what I'll do is I'll slowly just start side passing my donkey over, or my gentle donkey over to the wild donkey. And then pretty soon when we get close enough, I can actually start petting that wild donkey, but that wild donkey doesn't feel insecure because she has another donkey who's already super relaxed and super relaxed and just chill about it. So it definitely helps relax them quite a bit. If I have an alpha, sometimes we get, the alphas in, and their game when you first enter the pen is I'm going to show you who's boss. So they'll try and kill you. Some of them, they do try to kill me. So they'll come at me. 100 miles an hour, teeth baring, grunting. They try to get you to the ground. So by having Moonshine John in there with me, he actually, if one comes at me, he'll actually body slam his body into that donkey and grunt back at him like, no, that's not happening. So by him showing that donkey that that's not okay and then that's unacceptable, the donkey figures out, well, first the donkey is like, why are you protecting a human? Because that's not right. But you must be okay with the human since you are protecting it. So maybe I won't be so aggressive. So again, it's that imprinting. It really, really helps them.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any other questions? Ruth?
I just want to say that I'm very impressed by all the things I've seen on Facebook of what you're doing with your donkeys. It's terrific. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I noticed you share a lot of stuff on the Saddle Donkey page, and I'd love it if you could share some of the stuff onto our page as well, because we have a variety of donkeys. I'm not going to say that all the donkeys we have are wild caughts. We've got some mammoths, we've got a lot of people that are breeding minis, so we do have a variety, but certainly the wild caught ones seem to be the ones that cause the most trouble. I think people think they're possibly getting a bargain when they pick something up from the sales, not really realizing that they're taking home something that's potentially going to challenge them if they don't have the right facilities. So it sounds like if we're advising people, making sure that they take them home and keep them confined seems to be the big take home from this. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And keeping them separate. We have a lot of people that try to keep them paired. Don't pair them up. It's going to take you 3 times longer to gentle them. They will feed off each other. You have to separate them. I've done enough of these, and I've done trial and error, and I've tried different ways. This way that we have right now seems to be the best and seems to be the quickest way training, but quickest way to their brain and them accepting.
So Ruth, I know you're the one that's got 4 ferals in at the moment. Is there anything that comes out of this for you? Sorry to put you on the spot.
What exactly are the cookies you use?
The cookies I use anything from, I don't know if you guys have Purina down there, but it's a oat, berry, and has a little bit of alfalfa in it. And it's just combined together. You can do homemade cookies. I believe it's oatmeal, flaxseed oil, a tiny bit of flour, and I think an egg. I think is how you make them. And then some apples. You can put like some apples in it too. So
these aren't
kind of sweet.
These aren't store-bought cookies. Then these are horse or donkey, appropriate cookies.
Correct. I do buy store-bought cookies too. Like Purina makes a really good line of cookies. They don't have a lot of the sugars and stuff in it because donkeys, you don't want the high sugar levels, but we do want something that tastes good for them. But definitely the homemade cookies, I think they really like the homemade cookies better.
Okay.
And do you work with jacks much? Or if you do get the jacks, how soon do you get them gelded?
So yes, so we work anything from jacks, and that can be even large standards that are completely wild, to the BLM burros that were just gelded, or BLM jacks that haven't been gelded yet. So yes, and it depends on the individual burro. I've had plenty of gelded jacks or johns, whatever you want to call them, that were really hard and very aggressive. And I've had several intact jacks who are sweet as can be and just wanted to be loved on. But then there's been a few where it's been they wanted to test, and they wanted to see if, if they could boss you around, and they wanted to see if they could, be alpha and stuff. So honestly, it just depends on the individual donkey itself.
Yeah, I actually work with more jacks than jennies, because that's what's going through the sales and going for meat here. And I find the jennies are actually a bit more challenging, because ours are almost always pregnant, and then you have to either get them tamed really quick or let them out so they can have their foal.
Oh yeah, pregnant jennies, they definitely have a strong personality. They definitely try to let you have it.
Especially when they have their foal. That's yes, you don't get near that foal usually.
Yes, when they have their foals, you leave them alone for a good week or two. Yes.
Yes.
I've had both feral donkeys and handled ones, and I've got one feral one. She's in her late 20s now, and we got her. She was only about a 2-year-old, and all the foals, she's had quite a lot of foals, and all the foals she's had, you were allowed to be there while the foal was born, because we had a mammoth jack. We brought a mammoth jack out 20 years ago, and so they were big foals, so we had to be careful. But as soon as that foal was on the ground and going, you had to get out of there, and she would not let you in. And this went on for years. Like, that was how she always was with her foals. She wouldn't, sweet the rest of the time, but by golly, you just kept away when she first had a foal, always.
Yes, and that's most jennies. That is just them. Even your real gentled ones, they can turn out to be quite nasty the first week, and that's just them. So honestly, I allow them to be a good mom. You just got to allow them. It's nothing, you can't really train that out of them. You would rather them be a good mom than not take care of the baby.
Yes.
Yeah, we
were pretty lucky. We were pretty lucky with Tamar when she had her foal. We only had one very short episode where unfortunately Chase ended up caught between her and the foal. It was just poor circumstances, and she told Chase in uncertain terms that was not a good idea. But outside of that sort of one incident, we were really quite lucky, because she let us spend quite a bit of time with both her and the foal after that. So from about day 2 onwards, we've had no problems at all with either getting close to the mum or the baby. But as I said, we were pretty lucky in that case.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yes, there's definitely a lot out there that can be nice. So that's great.
Well, we went to the sales completely spontaneously and bought a jenny and a jack and brought them home and turned them out together. So we're really good at knowing what you should not do when you go to the sales and buy a dog. And then the jack turned out to be parrot-mouthed. So we have a lovely parrot-mouthed foal. So, but everybody's been gelded. Everything turned out. But this is the problem. I think is we were so lucky. It could have been so much worse. And that's what concerns me is understanding that the wild ones do require a bit of planning about how you're going to do it. You can't just go home and bring them back and turn them out and expect it to all be okay. We've come out of it okay, but Pat and Ruth and a couple other people that are in this group have been on the end of the phone or on the end of a Facebook message as I've been freaking out about things. So that's why it's great to make contact with people who are experienced with this sort of stuff. And do you find that, I know we've got at least one person on here who's got the miniatures. Will these techniques work with a domestic bred miniature that's perhaps, not being as compliant as they should, even if they were domestically bred? Because I know I've got a miniature horse, and somebody tried Pirelli on him and completely broke his brain. Like it was too much energy, too much stuff for him. I mean, I don't know the miniature donkeys. I don't know if Hazel wants to jump in and say anything here about minis, but can these techniques work on them even though they're so much smaller?
Yes, so all these techniques can work on anything from minis to your mammoths, and anything from wild to domestic. Your minis, obviously everything's going to have to be a lot lower, like picking up feet instead of 5-6 inches, it's going to have to like an inch off the ground. Your tines gonna have to be a lot shorter. Just everything's just, just lower with them. But I mean, other than that, they're the same. They're just in a small package.
And I've seen you do trail classes and stuff. So like, I mean, I've tried to lunge a donkey and it went about as well as expected. I mean, when you've got them handled and you want to start doing a bit more with them, how do you find with like building them up for your trail classes and stuff, and even preparing them for riding? Is there anything that you would particularly advise or that's donkey specific?
Yeah, so the trail class and stuff that you've seen. So what I do is I do 100-day competitions. So BLM gives me a wild burro of their choosing. I don't get to choose what I get. And I have 100 days to get it gentled and show ready. And then we take it and we do a showmanship class, a trail class, and a body conditioning class. And some of the classes require you have to like lunge 2 or 5 circles. You have to go over obstacles. And how I get that and how I get my donkeys, like trotting. Trotting is one of my biggest things, and having them trot real smooth and real collected right beside me without me having to be on them. So it goes back to the energy and the feel. So once they're gentled, I start working on, I'll ask them to move away with the smallest amount of energy. And literally it's just energy. I'll just ask them a little bit. When they take a step or they slightly bend, I instantly release and I give pressure, or not pressure. I give a cookie. Sorry, ignore that. I give a cookie right when they give me what I'm looking for. So I start out with only asking the smallest little movement, and it can literally just be a slight bend. Doesn't have to be moving their feet, but a slight bend. Once they get that, then I'll ask them to bend and maybe move a foot over. And then we start working more and more. Sending to get them to where they're lunging. So after they learn the feel of when I ask them to go away from me and they can feel my energy and they do that, then I'll start asking for a forward movement as well. So what that does, that teaches them to actually bend their barrel and circle around you versus being straight and pulling. Because a lot of people try, and what happens, the donkey pulls you, right? And the donkey just stands there like, I don't know what the hell you want me to do, kind of thing. So it's a lot of feel, and it's that timing again, and it's those little tiny short sessions, but several times a day. And that's how I've been very successful on getting the championships that I have with my burros. And that's how you see the videos of like little TikTok videos of us trotting, at a good pace, but you see that big loop in my lead rope because that donkey, we're connected. It's ear to shoulder. When he feels me go, then he goes. So you just gotta learn to be connected. Feel, it's a lot of work. And I know people go, well, how do you feel? Like, what's energy? What is that? It's really hard to describe, but I should be able to feel without looking at my burro. I should be able to feel if his mind is going to be stuck or if his mind is going to be free. Okay. There's really no way to, like, there's no prescription for it. It's more experience. You just gotta, yeah, it's really hard to explain on that part.
I mean, do you spend any time with your donkeys that's not training? Do you ever just kind of like hang out with them, or do you always make every session when you're around them something where they are learning?
When it's competition burros, the whole 100 days, every single day I'm working with them. After competition, oh, heck no. I'm out there, I'm sitting in the chair, and I got like Whiskey Jack or Send Your Cares right beside me, and we're sharing cookies, like chocolate chip cookies. We're just sharing them. We're just hanging out. So yeah, I'm just, in competition wise, you know, I get very competitive, not gonna lie. I do get very competitive. So I dream it, I live it, I breathe it. It's the only thing on my mind is I want to do good. I want to show that I do good. So I put that time in. But after competition, oh yeah, we're super lazy.
Yeah. And for those of you that haven't seen Cynthia's stuff on Facebook, how old is Cassie?
She's 7.
She has her 7-year-old daughter riding some of these. Oh, it's beautiful to see. Senor Carrots is hers, isn't he?
Yes, Senor Carrots is
Yeah.
hers.
Yeah. You can just send her to Australia. We'll have her. She's awesome.
Right? Yeah, no, she's definitely awesome. So because I'm too big to put rides on these little burros. They're only 10 to 11 hands. But she's perfect size. And yeah, she puts all the first rides on these burros. And she has been bucked off. Like last week, we were doing a bareback class. One of her classes was bareback equitation for the burros. And she's never rode Whiskey Jack bareback before. So it was a whole new feel. And he bucked her off. But she got back on, and after a little like being worried about it, she calmed down, and they were able to trot and do her class, and she was fine. So she definitely has her moments. They test her patience a lot because that free moving, the free in their feet, the free in their brain, if it's not there, you know, the donkeys don't move. Yeah, it has to be there. So she does have days where she's like, Mom, it's not working. But then she just comes in and we just kind of, you know, talk about it. And then she goes back out and she goes, okay, I can do it. And then she ends great.
Yeah, she's gorgeous to see. And I like to see that she always has a helmet on. That's something that it's real great to see, because sometimes you see photos and there's these kids and everything, oh, it's cute. And you're just sitting there going, oh, please put a helmet on your child.
Right. Yeah, she actually has a vest too, which I actually have it. She has
oh,
and she's actually, her horse, one time her horse flipped over backwards on her and stepped on her and she couldn't feel it. She was like, I'm fine.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, well, has anybody else got anything they wanted to add?
Could we see everybody's faces so Cynthia can see the rest of the people she's talking to, if people would like to put their face up?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Hello. Come on, Batman. We're looking at you.
Diane, Tracy? No, they want to be incognito.
They might have stepped away.
So Cynthia is on our Facebook page, which is great. So I'm hoping that you'll be happy to stay on there. And if people have, and share some of your videos and be a resource for us if we need some wild court advice. And I also know you've just unfortunately been through some bushfire stresses and dramas, and we are heading into our bushfire season. So we may even revisit you at some point. I think you did a trailer loading specific clinic, and so that might be something that we may need to look into as we head into, unfortunately, we also have the bushfires here. So, you know, sometimes trailer loading can be a bit nerve-wracking when you know you have animals that aren't necessarily as good as you'd like them to be, and you might need to move them in a hurry. So if you can stay on our Facebook page, that would be really brilliant. And I so appreciate you taking time out of your day to do this for us. It's been really great.
Yeah, no, again, thank you for having me. Hopefully I was able to help some of you guys. I know sometimes I get a little tongue-tied and talk in circles, so I forget what I'm talking about mid-sentence. But yeah, I do a lot of virtual clinics now, and I'm sticking just with donkeys. I'm kind of stepping away from the horse world for a little bit and just doing donkeys. So like November 22nd, I have a donkey feet 101 class, and I'm actually going to use a couple of my wild burros who I haven't even touched yet for that class, so I can show some folks how to get a donkey's feet trimmed, to get donkey's feet worked. That's feral.
Oh, if you could share that link onto our page if people are interested, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Because like this was for our members, so but we've also got sort of over 1,000 people on our Facebook group who aren't necessarily members, but they'd still be possibly interested in that. So that would be great, because feet seem to be a big problem.
Yes, yes. And it's gonna be through Zoom, just like this is.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's and this one I'm charging for, so it's $25 per person, and it's through Zoom. So if you're interested, all you do is you just PM me, say you're interested in the Feet 101 class, and then I'll send you to a Facebook group message that has the whole link for the Zoom meeting, kind of like what you sent me through our little chat. And then when ready, then we'll start the meeting, and then yeah, go from there.
And share, if you could also share the Fisher's Mustang page as well, so people can know who your business is as well. You don't want to necessarily end up with tons and tons of Facebook friends. Oh, shut up, dog. But it could be good if they know where your business page is as well. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, of course. I would definitely do that.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. I hope that you found this beneficial, and I appreciate Cynthia for taking the time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thanks.
Chase.